All right. We're going to give everybody a moment to join. I want to thank everybody for hopping on early and on time.
And while people are joining, using the chat dialog box, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Number one, where are you physically located? Where are you connecting from? And number two, what's your job title? Just to get a sense of that. So let's see that in chat. So far, nobody's connecting from anywhere. There we go, Spartanburg, San Luis Obispo, Fargo, Mason, Chicago, London, Denver, NYC, London, getting lots. All right, cool. And what are your job titles? Let's see what that looks like. Solutions consultants, business consulting manager, sales engineer. It's a lot of solution consultants, a lot of pre-sales folks. Good. What was that? Hold on, I got to scroll back up. Oh, interesting. Okay, excellent, excellent. Account execs. All right, good mix. Any objectives any of you have for this session? Type it into your chat dialog box. Any goals or objectives other than to survive the next hour? Let's see if anybody comes up with anything. I know that's my objective.
I guess my objective is to be
Artful
discovered.
discovery, unlearn and relearn. Dollars. Find the magic sauce. It's right here. It's right here. All you need to do is grab my teacup. All right, cool. John.
All right.
Take us in.
We have people are still joining, but I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody out to this edition of the Scaling Pre-Sales webinar series, Anatomy of a Discovery Call. We've got Peter Cohan with us, who needs no introduction, but I will do it anyway. He's the founder of Great Demo Methodology and the principle of the second derivative. Thanks for being with us, Peter. And we've also got Mark Green, who is our new director of pre-sales and buyer enablement at Consensus. We are very excited to have Mark joining us, and they've got a great session lined up. For those who are unfamiliar with Consensus, if there are any in the audience, our platform helps you scale pre-sales with intelligent demo automation. Pre-sales creates the content, sales delivers it on demand. Using our platform, companies have reduced unqualified demos by 90% plus, and shortened sales cycles and increased win rates. And we have some case studies if you're interested. I want to give a quick shout out that we have launched the 2022 compensation and workload report. So if you're interested in benchmarks regarding the entire pre-sales industry, this is the most comprehensive report we've done to date. We ask about everything from on-target earnings to correlated with experience level and things like that, to workload, the number of hours worked, or the revenue functions that you deal with in the pre-sales department, and kind of how pre-sales is getting stretched all different directions. If you want to understand more about the trends in the industry, go ahead and check that out. And lastly, I want to talk about DemoFest. DemoFest 2022 is coming up. It's May 17th through 19th. Peter will be presenting. We are very excited to have him, as he is a perennial at the conference. We just love what he has to offer.
I'm an annual.
He's an annual. It is May 17th through 19th. If you are a Consensus customer, I want to just note that you will want to reach out to your CSM for a link to register, because if you are a Consensus customer, you get access to the customer day at the beginning of the conference. That's on the 17th. And that's the only way to get access there. And with that, I want to turn the time over to Peter and Mark. Take it away.
All right, I will go ahead and share my screen as soon as you let me do so. There we go. All right, can you all see my mouse in the upper left-hand corner? If you can, please type mouse or corner or left in your chat dialog box. All right, and bottom right, same process. Okay, looks like it's all working. So with that in mind, how many of you have ever seen these three numbers before? Give me a yes or no in your chat dialog box. Just give me a sense. Michelle, yes, no. Chris, no. Okay, it's a mix. All right. For those who don't know, probably. So what you're looking at here are three numbers from a survey by an organization called Intercall of what people are doing in web sessions like these. So 65% of the population is, any guesses? Let's see what you put in your chat dialog box. So far, nothing. Shopping, emailing, doing something else. Okay, you guys have gotten all the answers already. It is, that's right, trying to multitask, doing something else, not paying attention. That is exactly correct. 55% of you are eating or making food or drinking. And if it's California, you're drinking way too early in the morning. And 21% are, that's right, online shopping. And this person is doing what? All three at fightings like these. So to keep you engaged, and this is going to be a very strange and different session, but to keep you engaged, I'm going to offer 3 more numbers, and I'll tell you what they are. 2 to 4 hours, 3 to 6 demos, and 8 to 15 pages is what is typically the output. Actually, how many of you remember, let me grab my, actually today, using your chat dialog box, which color would you like me to use for annotating today? Any choices? Let's see. First one, red. You got it. Red it is. How many of you remember what this material is? Well, red was what got picked. Sorry, you had to be fast. Mark, what is that material?
I use it daily because I'm
paper. If one printed out the notes that I take for discovery for a demo skills workshop, it often is on the order of 8 to 15 pages. It includes often 2 to 4 more hours actually doing discovery with prospects and often reviewing anywhere from 2 to, well, it's been a pile of demos. So let's talk about the scenario we're going to do today. This is going to be a mock discovery conversation. However, it is in fact unrehearsed. Mark, pictured beautifully both in the right here and in your video pane, is the director of pre-sales at Bedrock Enterprises. If I recall correctly, they offer fintech products. They've got multiple industries. Yeah, it's Zuckerberg, that's right. What happened is he sent in an inbound lead to me asking about the desire to learn about demo skills training. So that's where this process started. We had an initial call, we connected. My job was to answer his questions about the offerings and pricing information, how workshops might be customized and so forth. And I sent him actually, Mark, an overlong email, if I recall correctly, and you had a chance to digest that. Is that all correct?
Yes, very much indeed. There was a lot to take in there. It was good to have it all in one place.
There you go. Okay, so on my side, and that is a facsimile of me. I know I don't look like that in real life. Anyway, I sent him the info. I completed research prior to the call. This is fictitious, so I have to make it up. But basically, I looked at his LinkedIn profile, Bedrock Incorporated, some of the other filings and things. And our next step that we'd agreed to is a discovery call for me to learn some information to enable me to be able to confidently and clearly propose a precise solution. And for Mark to feel the following. So that's exactly where we are. I'll be drawing from the full, if you will, Great Demo Discovery methodology. We do not have time to go through all of this. What we're doing is cherry picking some ideas. So what I'm going to suggest is to keep you guys engaged. Think about and listen for some of the key elements of discovery that we might be touching on and skills associated with doing this process. What we're not going to be doing today is what many people would class as business discovery. So the more, if you will, on the sales side of the house, the pathway to purchase, who's the buying committee rather. I'm not going to repeat sales methodology that's so excellently laid out in books. We are staying away from peer qualification, and although this may be appropriate or applicable to some portions of transactional sales, we're not really looking at that as the option here. So we're focusing, if you will, on technical discovery or discovery more typically done by pre-sales folks. So with that, are you guys ready? Give me a yes with passion in your chat dialog box. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing here. There we go. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And Mark, hi. I'm so glad you were able to join today. Is this still a good time to connect?
It's a perfect time. Yes. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for finding the time to come and help us.
Oh, I'm glad we're able to invest this time together today. But tell you what, before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you ascend to this position of power and authority at Bedrock? What's your background?
Well, it's kind of you to say power and authority. The way in which I did it was recognize the power and authority in the other people in my team, and so it's really them that I've got to thank for the great things that we're doing here at Bedrock. It's been an interesting journey back in I started off my career in days of IT, and progressed through my career. Now I'm helping some great teams of pre-sales people across the world. In fact, all four corners of the planet, or three corners, to help Bedrock not only with our classic products, but also some new and exciting ones as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So let's dive in and talk about your team a little bit. If I recall correctly from our previous call, you said there's 30 folks all together around the world, and you have something like 5 direct reports. Is that all correct so far?
Well, it is. It was 5. We're looking to get it back up to 5. Now it's changed to 4. Jenny, that looks after our London office, is also now looking after Bristol as well.
Got it. Okay, so we need to refill that then. Okay, understood. And where's the team physically located?
So like I said, we've got London and Bristol. London looks after mainly, they've been here the longest. We've got 11 people there, and they're a great tight-knit bunch of people. Then we've got Bristol. There's only 6 people there, but then now thankfully they're all being managed by Jenny as well. So that might bring some collaboration. We've got Bethany over in Boston. We've got Anders in Bergen in Norway, and we've also got Bruce in Sydney.
In Sydney, and how many in each of the? How many in Boston?
There's 8 people there. So we've got 11 in London, 6 in Bristol, 8 in Boston, 2 in Bergen, and then 3 in Sydney.
Got it. Perfect. And what are their backgrounds like once they've joined the organization? Are they fintech experts? Are they pre-sales? What are their backgrounds like?
Well, as I'm sure you know, it's really hard to hire for all 3 main tenets of a pre-sales person. The product knowledge, the industry expertise, and the communication passion. But we found that certainly in our networks, they come with great industry experience. They can learn our products, and they've probably used similar in their previous jobs, either as pre-sales people or as practitioners.
So some were actually customers before?
Not necessarily customers, but they may have used similar products and in an active role in a department in a company doing tax and compliance for them, and then they've moved into the world of sales and pre-sales, selling similar products back to people that were there a bit like their colleagues. Yes, but in terms of your question, you said what are they like? I think I would categorize them without wanting to be specific on names, but we've got people that are very consultative, and they're very good at that part. We've got people that are lone wolves, and they're very specialist. Sometimes that's useful, sometimes it's not. We've got people who have been in the industry for a very, very long time, so they're the authentic industry experts. And then we've got the carer and sharers who are just super collaborators. So those are the 4 different types of people in my team.
So so you're not alone. That's very similar to other organizations we've worked with. And how long, give me a range, if you will, how long have majority of the people been with the organization? Or what's the shortest, what's the longest, what might be an average?
Oh, well, we've got some quite new people, especially with the new product that we've taken on. For the people in Bergen are very new. They've only been here less than a year, so they only just finished their ramp on the main products, and then they're taking on the newer ones as well. It's been a bit of a pivot on what they originally joined for, but I think they're enjoying it. And then we've had some people that have been here for the full 7 years.
Oh, wow. And go
when
ahead, sorry.
we started out with this division of the company.
And what might be the average overall?
Probably about 2 or 3.
2 to 3 years. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
And how are they organized with respect to their sales counterparts? Are they pooled? Are they by geography, specialty? How do you do it?
So we tend to do it by country just because it helps time zones. So obviously we've got operations in the US, operations in Europe, and then operations in Australia. So it tends to be that whilst there may be better alignment sometimes within the verticals and the products that they use, geographic constraints really are the reason that they work with the specific sales counterparts there. We don't run a specific ratio of like 2 to 1 or 1 to 1 or anything like that. We do it very much on the demand, because our salespeople are quite enabled as well.
Got it. So demand driven, in other words.
Yes.
Perfect. And a curiosity question: what's their willingness to learn new things or change? How would you describe, the local culture, if you will?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because working with teams across the world, there are different reasons for working change. And whilst we all love the concept of work-life balance and family is very important, there is certainly a sense of some people work for the betterment of themselves to rise their own careers up, and some people work not wanting to rise above their colleagues and want the whole team to rise, and that collective vision is certainly very important. I certainly find that in Bergen, and that's something that I'd like to foster in the other teams as well, so we can all grow together.
Got it. Interesting. And how do you track their achievements? In other words, for example, is the team success based on achieving quota numbers or a combination of things? How do they know at the end of the year that they have been a success?
So we have team targets. We don't have individual targets. We did right back at the start when we were a much smaller company. It was much easier to attribute, but as we've grown and the activities that we get up to change, and we can share that responsibility, then it's a team target.
Got it.
And so people know that they're doing well because the company is doing well. It does represent a difficulty in terms of allocating success metrics to individuals, but those success metrics hopefully will come from an understanding of the people and the team leaders that know their teams very well, and so they can work with them on that.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you for that. That's really good. That's exactly what I was trying to understand. Some of the same questions on the sales side of the house. How many, you've got 30-ish, I guess, when you replace your manager here on the pre-sale side. How many folks are they supporting overall in sales?
Well, I mean, it changes because we're growing, especially in the new part with Bergen. So we've got 2 different models. So we've got two different products now. I keep forgetting because it's so new. I've been here so long. It's usually just one product. No, so there's 2 products now. The main products, the tax and compliance stuff, that's more of a traditional. It was at one point it was 1-to-1. In fact, now we probably have each pre-sales person supporting anywhere between 2 and 5 account executives and salespeople, whereas that's not really a sustainable model for the way in which people buy our Chrome extension plugin. So that's not useful to have as many salespeople because it's a much shorter sales cycle, and the cost to acquire each customer doesn't allow us to spend that time. That said, we've used some demo automation to help that.
I know I hear there's a company called Consensus that does terrific things with
Well,
that.
you've heard of it too. I've got their
Strangely
book.
enough,
You should read it. It's a great read.
it's there you go.
Yeah.
And are the sales folks organized similarly out of London, Bristol, Boston, Bergen, and Sydney, or is it different
Yes,
from
we
that?
tried to align them similarly, but obviously, whilst we're talking about them being in actual places, they tend to. Everyone's working from home now. We've actually people. We could get everyone working from home super fast. And everyone loves it. So we really support that. It does, however, mean that our training opportunities to bring the team together and actually learn in an environment that you can have those side conversations and collaborative team building things. I think what I'm finding is the people with a more tenure in the industry, they find that more difficult over Zoom. The people newer into the business, it's fine. It's not a problem. They far prefer to do everything on Zoom.
Absolutely. That's me. I just don't want to leave my house anymore. What can I say? Question about their longevity. Compared to the pre-sales folks, is it about the same? They've been with the organization shorter, longer? How does sales compare?
I would say that it's about the same, slightly shorter. There's a little bit more churn in sales than there is in pre-sales. It tends to balance out that way in most of the industry, I think. That said, we don't see that much regrettable loss with leavers. One thing I am trying to get from the training is a way that people can continue their learning journey with us in Bedrock, so that they're feeling like they are getting a lot out of the reason that they work for us. It's not just money or
Personal growth, development, right?
It is, and that's certainly a reason that people join us. That opportunity to grow certainly brings us a great recruitment track in.
So in other words, you don't want to be yet another great resignation statistic. Is that a good way to summarize that?
Quite the opposite. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. Changing gears briefly, sales cycles, and let's talk about the more complicated product, the bigger product. But what are typical sales cycle lengths, or what might be the shortest, what might be the longest, and what might be typical or average?
Well, we're kind of guided by partner projects. So the tool that we provide is based around the tax and compliance of exchange rates across the different, and the way that tax is applied in different places. So obviously the US, there's different states have got different taxes and all the rest of it. And so with their finance products, we work with some customers that are going through a very lengthy implementation. And so that our sales cycle sort of echoes the sales cycle that they have with those larger companies. So we find that it could be anything up to a year for the very large projects. That said, we recognized that we wanted to get things moving a bit quicker. So whilst there are shorter sales cycles of maybe 2 to 3 months, with the expansion into the more self-serve Chrome plugins, we want it to be weeks rather than
really okay.
months. Yes. So we're trying to run both sales cycle models. We've got a lot of historical experience with the former, not that much experience with the latter, though. And so understanding what lessons we can draw from which ones not to bring across is something that we're quite keen to address.
Got it. Understood. And what currently might be the average sales cycle length, just to give me a sense?
So the average, I think, over the past year is looking to be about 4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months, and you're trying to get that down to a few weeks. Is that correct?
Well, no. So sorry. So for our main product, we want
I
it
see.
to be shorter. We're comfortable with about 3 months.
Aha,
That would
okay.
be okay, because most of the partner products that people buy us to help with will also have about 3 months cycle. But the smaller product we'd like to just happen much faster. As fast as possible would be excellent.
So much more of a transactional sale for the flagship, if you will, getting it down to 3 months. Do you have ideas in mind of how you might shave that time down?
So we've been doing a bit of work on it. We'd like to get better at working out the needs of the customer's project earlier.
Makes perfect sense.
Because we do a lot of planning in the delivery once the deal goes, but reaching higher up the funnel of those opportunities would be really good, but we're worried about just trying to do it in a disorganized way. So if there's an organized way to reach higher up the funnel, that would certainly help shorten the activities that we've got to do with the customers.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. So folks, taking just out of role play mode for a moment, I would probably continue down this pathway for a distance. I would ask about the opportunity sizes. I'd ask a little bit about licensing, if it's subscription or some other model. And actually, true curiosity question, so if you will, slightly back into role play mode. How much of what you do is land and expand versus trying to get a large initial footprint, Mark?
So for us, the large initial footprint is the majority of what we do.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
That resonates.
So what we had to do was, so we recognize that what we sell is seldom an expansion project. So that's why we're bringing on other product lines to help expand into those existing customer base as well.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. And then that aligns with the desire to get to do basically a better analysis of needs earlier, because better analysis of needs means a better fit and means the opportunity to have a larger footprint potentially with that first installation. So is that is that correct, or?
Yes, thank you for validating my thoughts there. Yes.
So validated.
Yes.
All right.
That is exactly how we do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Jumping out of role play for a moment, I would probably ask now about sales process and process steps. That can be easily a 5 to 10 minute real-time conversation on its own. I'd probably also ask about competition, where they sit and related. Going back into role play, how is Bedrock perceived in the marketplace? Are you the gorilla? Are you one of many players? Are you up and coming? How do you see yourselves?
Well, it doesn't help that our name makes people think of the Stone Ages. So whilst
I was not going to say that.
Well, no, that's fine. We get it all the time. But no, tax has been around for a very long time indeed, and so have we. So we do understand it. But that's why we call it. We've got our extension that's called. We've changed to things being called BR rather than Bedrock. So we've got BR compliance, and we've got the BR Snapper, which is the extension. So we're trying to be cool.
And as far as your customers' perception, are you the go-to company? Are you one of many players? Do they know about you? Where do you stand in that spectrum?
We are one. Well, because we've been around for 7 years, we've built up a good customer base. So we know what we're doing, and our customers know that we know what we're doing. But that isn't always everything that's needed. So this is why people know that we've got the functionality and that we can deliver. We're really looking to bring a bit more than that, though.
So you're looking for ways to differentiate in a positive sense, then? Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, because we're very, well, as you would hope, we're very moral. We don't want to put any of our competitors down. but certainly we're very proud of the way that we do it, and that we brought change to so many businesses already. Our competitors, we've got some that are very, very young in the market. They've got similar messaging, but not necessarily the delivery. And so we need to sell not just on what we do, but how we do it and why we do it. And so that's something I'm trying to embed into the teams. It's a lot easier in London. It's a lot easier for the team in Bristol. It seems completely easy for the people in Norway. I think that's all they've ever known is this, we're going to lead with the why of Bedrock. But for other people across the world, it's easy to be stuck in the old messaging.
Interesting. And how much of your business is greenfield versus replacement of existing systems?
We'd say most of it is greenfield.
Okay.
But it's because it's greenfield for us, for the customers that we're talking to, because we're a partner product to the main finance system. That is a replacement. So that's not greenfield. They've had a finance system before. They're stepping up to a bigger finance system. They need some specialist services, and that's what we provide. So it's greenfield for us, but for the customers that we talk to that are going through that larger change project, they're trying to replace functionality that already exists and works, but is straining.
Got it. So stepping out of role play for a moment, folks, isn't Mark making this about as challenging as one might get? All right, I'm joking. Coming back in.
No,
go ahead.
Out of role play, this is as normal as we found when I worked at Sage. Our division had 3 products. We had a whole marketplace of independent software vendors. We had all kinds of different products. So yes, it is tough, but you know what? I bet a lot of people on the call here feel the pain because the interplay between all of the different products and companies and interactions, it's real and it's painful. But
there you
go.
And it's solvable. So stepping back into role play for a few more minutes here. No decisions. What percent, if you know it, what percent of your sales opportunities that are forecasted end up as no decisions? And do you know what I mean by that?
Yes. So no decision is a difficult thing for us. I would say the percentage of the deals that we go for about 20%, perhaps a little bit less, perhaps 15%. End in a no decision, mainly because for a company that needs to operate in the space that we support, they need to do that. The no decisions that we get usually are where they decide not to go into specific countries or at that point. So we'll have a no decision for now. And then of course the sales cycle will start again when that's picked up in the future. So we hope that we'll be included in that as well. But they're obviously our competitors.
Got it. And are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with that no decision rate, or are you looking to try to improve it?
I would look to improve it by about 7.5%. I'll cut it in half. There's always going to be opportunities that we won't win. If I said I wanted to reduce it to 0, that would be beautiful but unreasonable to try to attain. But I would be happy with cutting it in half.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Stepping out of role play for a moment, I would then probably explore if they have sales methodology that is both taught and practiced, perhaps some information about the CRM system they're using, customer success, more about the products. I would definitely be asking about their target customers and markets and target job titles and perhaps where their customers are on the chasm curve. But I want to drop down to demos. With respect to demos, going back into role play, on average, how many demos might any particular SC do on a weekly basis, let's say?
So let's focus on the main product here.
Yep.
because the other one, as we know, has been automated to a certain degree. So that's good. We probably do. So each SC probably does an overview demo every couple of days. So maybe 2 or 3 a week. And then they will be doing more detailed demos probably once a week. But that's so main technical demos once a week, that is. And then that's surrounded with additional meetings that I wouldn't classify as a demo, but it's still a meeting with the customer where they're talking through the functionality and perhaps sharing more of their requirements.
Got it. And you mentioned overviews and sort of deeper demos. How long are the overviews?
Well, they've been reduced now. We've been able to enable those buyers earlier with with the preliminary videos, like the micro demos. The overviews still happen because not all of the sales teams are on board with it. I think over the next,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think over the next 6 months they'll reduce, but the overview demos will be at least an hour. Probably half of them would run to an hour and a half, either accidentally or on request of the customer. We try to only offer up to an hour because by that point I think people are tired.
Definitely.
and unless it's very engaging.
True. And the follow-on demos, these deeper demos, what's the range of lengths for those?
Oh, well, they're very short. So they're probably about, they go in as half-hour meetings, but it's usually probably about 15 minutes of that is probably showing product. The rest will be a collaboration between the salesperson as well. So they'll be talking about the project, not just showing the software. I see. Yeah.
So it's really more almost of a implementation discussion.
Well, it's because we provide software, but we don't just throw it at them and say, there you go. We work with them to make sure that it's a success. So what we're selling is service, and part of that is software.
Got it. And when we started off the discussion a week ago, you commented that your demos aren't as effective as you might desire. What would you say the team is doing well, and what would you like to see them do differently or better?
So the thing I want them to do more, and yes, we did talk about it, and I was looking forward to this bit because I really want some help with the fact that we've got some amazing people in the team. And so I've had pushback in the past on when we run training, mainly because it's sales training and these are pre-sales people. And the other thing is that some people feel that they know it all, and some of them do, but some of them don't. And that some of them know the wrong things. So for me, it's important that we foster individual growth in the people. Like we discussed, it would be good that they join BR and know that their growth and career journey can progress inside the company. I want people to share collaboratively across the world as well. We've got these pockets of knowledge that I want to cross-pollinate across the different teams. And so that's something that's frustrating. The other thing is that trainers have worked for us in the past, but people haven't necessarily kept up with the way that those activities are done. So it's great if you were there for the training course. If you join after the training course, everyone's doing this thing that you don't know about. So I'd like a way to make sure that this is embedded in the culture of what we do, rather than just do a sales training day and then not use it.
So it can't be an event. It has to be an ongoing process with reinforcement. So. And got it. Yes. And as far as the demos themselves, how do I want to ask this? How often does the team get get distracted by questions or driven off into the weeds that way? Does that ever happen?
All the time. Yes.
Sorry to hear that.
Especially on our, so it's especially with what I would call our carer and sharer style of solution consultants, because their sense of self-worth to their buyers is to just help them with everything. And that's wonderful, but it does mean that we end up trying to work on problems that are not necessarily in scope or our remit.
And in sort of a similar vein, how skilled or how often is a team at actually communicating business value?
That's something that I'd like us to work on.
Got to do that better. Now, I have to assume the team is strong technically. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah. Like I said, we get a lot of recruitment from industry, so they're already aware of the concepts, and so the sales. No, the technical ramp isn't particularly hard. The industry ramp is. We hope that we can hire for that, because that's difficult to teach, but it's the interpersonal and presentation skills that we want to foster and grow as well. The ability to communicate all of this wonderful stuff that.
Got it. How often does it seem like they're doing training as opposed to actually trying to move the customer or the prospect to the point where they want to buy?
So do you mean doing training of
as if they're
customers?
doing as if your SEs perceive that this is a training exercise as opposed to, if you will, a selling exercise?
I'm not sure.
You're not? Okay,
I'm not sure.
that's something we could take a look at.
I think that would be a really interesting area to explore, because now you're mentioning it, I'd like to make sure we don't miss that. Got
it. Anything else on the, what they're doing well or need to do better? Anything else?
Yes. So going off piste. So we've got, for the people
going off track, for those who are not skiers here.
Sorry, yes. So we've got some people who will demo based on their knowledge of a talk track and a specific journey through the product. We're finding that they are very good at going through that. And then if the customer asks a question, they'll answer the question. They might have great skills for that. But then if they've missed a bit, they'll go up and they'll start from the script again, and then they'll just continue on. That's not good. When we want them to be able to dive around a bit and think a bit more on their feet. And if we've not covered that bit, if we're going to run out of time, that's fine. We'll concentrate on the important bits.
Do you ever have situations where the team, in sort of a similar vein, the team almost ignores the discovery information that's been collected and just follows the same script? How often does that occur?
Yes, because they know best, because they know they will run out their amazing demo that they're very good at, and they'll be confident in giving a good performance. If that doesn't necessarily fit the needs of the buyer, it's not always modified. But you know what, also that's probably given the amount of time that they've got, they can't really, because everyone's doing so many demos, they can't really go and adjust and do custom demos for everybody. We'd want them to, but we have to find a way that they can do that more easily, so they can tune, or at least make it feel tuned to each customer's needs.
Do you have, well, it's a two-part question. One is, do you have an idea of how many demos are wasted? Meaning, after the fact or even before the fact that it was too early to demo, or that the prospect really wasn't sufficiently qualified, or do you have a concept of a demo qualified lead currently?
So we do with the BR Snapper, because that's run.
I love that. Keep going.
Don't get me to come up with names, Peter. Sorry, hat back on. So we do with the ones that we've automated, because that's part of what we can do. So if it comes through there and they've watched it all, then we'll know, and then we can move on. But the larger ones, like I said, the adoption of that platform is taking longer. We intend for it to be good, and then we will have the concept of a demo qualified lead, but it's not something that's prevalent at the moment. So we do want to increase that. We do give full live demos too early sometimes, and it's not necessarily always too early. I would say that it's just to the wrong stakeholders.
How often do you think that takes place? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, probably once a fortnight. Probably one of those big demos is either too early or to the wrong recipients.
So once every couple, for those who don't know what a fortnight is, once every couple of weeks, 2 weeks, is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, stepping out of role play, we would talk about more about implementation. I would ask about lunch and learn sessions. We'd actually discussed previously that Mark's team is doing POCs that he didn't feel were needed, and that sales is often offering POCs too early in their calls. I would have explored that. I would have explored RFPs, relationship with marketing. I would ask some questions about the culture and uniqueness in the organization. But to wrap up, Mark, when you reached out to me, what prompted you to reach out to me in the first place? In other words, what's the impact for you of seeing the demos and the team's demo skills improve, and what drove this?
What drove it was that we've tried it before. So we've tried bringing everybody up, training people, but it's not stuck. So our methodology was perhaps, well, it wasn't received by people in a way that they could continue using and grow themselves with. It existed, and people had to use it, but they didn't really find the value in maintaining it.
Interesting, very interesting. Now, stepping out of role play mode again, what Mark has just done is he has basically shared that he has been previously what is known as a burn victim. He's implemented something that didn't stick. And so if this was a real discovery call, I would explore that fairly intimately to make sure that I understand what happened, and so that Mark and I both can put in place a plan where it can't happen again or it won't happen again. And I would probably ask, well, I'll just ask it, Mark, do you have timing in mind? Do you have any particular goals, objectives, or events that might precipitate when you'd want to start this process?
Yes, we want to roll out BR Snapper to the other places. We need to do that by the middle of the summer. And I don't want it to roll out without firstly, the people who will have to be selling that product. Like I said, it's a very different way of working with customers, but it does also mean that with that extra workload, we're going to need to really get better at the current products and the way that we use and we demo those. So the middle of the summer is where I need everyone to be ready and feel like they've got the space freed up enough to take on the other products as well. And so hopefully this training will give them the confidence that they can find life at work easier and therefore take on new challenges.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everybody give Mark a thunderous round of applause, because we're going to get to the point here we can do a little bit of a wrap up.
We've got some questions in the Q&A.
Oh, there's quite a few questions. Before we go to some questions, I want to do a couple of things here. I want to share two things. One is, let me share my screen again. Whoopsie, wrong one. There we go. First of all, any idea, dear audience, what you're looking at here? Type it into your chat dialog box. And Mark, you could comment. What are we looking at here? I'll just sort of scroll gently. My notes, exactly. So yeah, it's not only a notes, but it's a notes template. So This includes the information that I collected. So for example, here's discussions about what they do well in the demos, what could they do better or don't do at all, and so forth. It includes placeholders for the information that I wanted to explore more deeply and so forth. And it provides, therefore, a method for me to, in a structured fashion, ensure that I'm going through what I know I need to go through and capture it as Mark is unwinding some of this information. That all being said, let's go back to PowerPoint. So what did you guys note? And Mark, I could ask you the same thing here when we're going through this. And I have to offer a huge caveat, and that is that we spent about 40 minutes actually doing discovery. If this was real life for what I do for this particular business, Mark and I probably would have gone on, set a second call and gone through another 45 minutes or perhaps even longer until we both felt, number one, that I had enough information to really propose would be a set of training skills, classes, and processes for Mark's team. And Mark felt I had sufficient information to be able to do that without missing anything and without compromising what took place and repeating what took place previously. So Mark, comments, observations on how we did and the process?
Well, firstly, thank you for putting up with the overly complex company that I weaved into our story. So
Bedrock.
Thank you for that. And I would say that this is what I found most valuable is the fact that by the time you were doing this discovery, I was bought in to the fact that the value of going through this discovery was going to result in successful change. So I wasn't bothered at all by the fact that there were many questions. And that's one of the things that I was always most fearful as an SC myself, going to a company and saying, can I ask loads of questions? We were always told, work it into a conversation, try to make it not sound like a list. And there were structured questions that you went through, but I can't believe the amount of discovery notes that you managed to make there. And that was that's really valuable to see.
There you go. Mark actually touched on some very important things here. One takeaway that I hope you guys all gather from this is that prospects that really want to solve their problems are more than willing, in fact, want to be discovered. So that becomes a delightful point of qualification. If somebody's willing to engage in a substantive discovery conversation, that generally means they're earnestly interested in solving their problems. That's one point I'd like you to take away. A second idea, and it is, it's laid out here. I didn't really start talking about the pain until fairly deep into the conversation. Does anybody know why, including Mark? Anybody want to type it into chat dialog?
Well, let's see what goes into the chat first.
Yeah, build trust, absolutely. Build trust and credibility, investing in the relationship. Yeah, you can. I cannot tell you how many times somebody who was a BDR and SDR, similar type of a job title, salesperson, has started off a discovery conversation with me by asking, are you guys ready? By asking, what keeps you up at night? And my response is often, and this is crusty, idiot salespeople who conversation with what keeps you up at night. That's what makes me angry. No, you can't start that way. With a few exceptions, that might be executives, but most people want to be eased into a discovery conversation. They want to establish some flow. They want to establish a relationship. You as the vendor need to build credibility and trust. And a terrific way to do that is what's laid out here. Ask about the person's background, gather demographics information about the team, their backgrounds, the longevity with the organization. Tell me about how the environment is laid out. In this case, we were asking about sales and pre-sales geographies, physicals, and related to that before we start talking about pain. So that's another thing conceptually to take away. And Michelle already got a key idea here, and that is, I opened the conversation by saying, so tell me about, see if I can remember the words I used. Mark, tell me about you. How did you ascend to this position of power and authority at Bedrock? What are most people, with a few exceptions, but most people most comfortable talking about? Somebody type it in your chat dialog box. Themselves, exactly. This is a very simple and very elegant way to begin a discovery conversation. Tell me about yourself. How did you choose to join this company? What was your background like? What prompted you to go and join the mighty Bedrock Enterprises, for example?
And
All
you
right,
can tell
ladies
the
and gentlemen.
difference.
Yeah.
You can tell the difference in cultures. Here's me feeling very British, not wanting to big myself up. I immediately then sang the praises of my team.
Exactly, and I noted that as we went through this. So there you go.
I've got a question for you, Peter.
Yes, sir.
So we've had a few in on the Q&A, and there's one that's particularly relevant to something that you just said, so I wanted to answer it live, if that's okay. How do you deal with outbound calls where the POC is not willing to do the discovery or spend time on adequate discovery? Sorry, or spend adequate time on discovery?
So here, let me open that. So how do you deal with
how do you deal with people that aren't
POs
willing to put the time in for discovery?
People that aren't willing. I see. I was reading POC. Well, two things. One is you need to determine fairly rapidly if they're really good candidates or they're simply browsing, the just browsing folks. And one way to do that is to ask the musical question, are you willing to invest a few minutes to talk about your situation? And if the answer is yes, then you should contemplate proceeding. If the answer is no, it's probably a case of just send them the information they want and add them to your marketing drip or nurture plans, if you will. Does that help? For whoever asked that question, give me a yes or no in the.
So okay, hopefully so. Thank you very much.
All right. We've got 1 or 2 minutes left. Mark, anything else we want to answer in the Q&A, or anyone else have any other questions?
Well, we had one talking about differentiating individual performance being an issue with team targets. That's perhaps not one for the discovery call, but a fascinating subject to uncover another day, I think. But yes, feel free to find us on LinkedIn and drop us a note, and we'll happily discuss new trends in discovery.
New trends in discovery. Let me share this. The first trend in discovery today is realizing that the Dunning-Kruger effect is in effect. And by that, actually, Dunning had a terrific quote. He said, members of the Dunning-Kruger club don't realize that they are already members of the Dunning-Kruger club. In other words, that means people that don't know what they don't know. So having a mindset with respect to discovery that there's an enormous amount that we can learn is probably the first step. And the slide that you're looking at here is designed to begin to help illustrate that idea. Most people, most organizations are at best, and this is being very generous, doing levels 1 through 4. Very frankly, there are very few people that actually do a job quantifying discovery information, which I was looking to do fairly readily. I kept asking questions about deltas. I asked ranging questions about low, high, and averages, so forth. So this might be at least a partial answer to that. If it is, I hope it's sufficient. Mark, anything else on this?
I don't think we have time, but I think it is certainly an excellent way to approach it.
Perfect. Well, and if people have questions about the material, if you'd like, for whatever reason, a copy of those slides, you can certainly reach me here at pcohan@greatdemo.com. We've got a lot of resources on our website here, as you can see at greatdemo.com as well. Mark, did you want to share? I can stop sharing here and let John Cook put back the list of presenters. But Mark, do you want to share your email information as well?
Well, I am mark.green@goconsensus.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm just type in Mark Green Consensus and you will find me.
There you go. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a delight to invest this hour with you. I hope you found this interesting. We were trying to make this a different type of webinar, and therefore, please let us know if it succeeded, it failed miserably, or something in between. We'd very much like to understand it. So thanks, folks, and I'll let Mark and John wrap this up.
Thanks everybody for coming out, and thanks Peter and Mark for putting in this time. It's been very educational. It's really fun to see. You know, discovery never goes by the book, right? And so it's nice to watch that happen in real time. Thanks everybody for coming out. I want to remind everybody to go out and register for DemoFest if you haven't already. And on subject of the question that was asked about compensation and things like that, there will be a myriad sessions at DemoFest dealing with targets, KPIs, compensation, group versus individual, as well as hiring and a ton of other subjects. So we're happy to see you there. I look forward to that, and we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.